Hello and welcome to a 10-minute takes 5-phase review for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and EEVEE for the Nintendo Switch. And the way we like to do things here is that we like to rate our games based on 5 phases. Those 5 phases are how fun the game is to play, the level design, how engaging the game is, the presentation, and bugs and glitches. We take those 5 separate scores, average them together to create one final score, and we give you the final score first, then we go through the 5 separate phases. Alright, so Sam, you ready to give our final ratings?
Yes.
Alright, so my final rating for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu came out to an 8.9 out of 10.
My final was 9.6 out of 10.
Wow, that's high.
It is high.
I feel like that could be the difference between someone that's played the series since the very beginning and someone who this is their very first Pokemon game playing
This was my first exposure to any Pokemon, and it allowed me to branch out to all kinds of questions.
It is a massive nostalgia trip for someone that's been playing it for as long as I have, but seems like it completely wowed you. Yeah. So let's get into the 5 phases. All right, so phase 1, how fun is this game to play? For me, my fun factor came out to a 9 out of 10. What was it for you?
My fun factor was a 10 out of 10.
Now, I will argue that 10 out of 10 because I'm going to rate your game on everything you implement in it. And I feel like there's something that they implemented in this game that I feel like is half-baked, and that's the couch co-op they put in it. The co-op of this game is really a cosmetic co-op, except for the 2-versus-1 trainer battles you do. So when you're playing with 2 people on the game, the second player doesn't do anything in the world except for run around. Oh, that's
what you mean. Yeah, no,
And so because that I feel like is half-baked, I can't give the fun factor of this game a perfect score.
I will have to say I forgot about that. Because when I first started playing with it last weekend, before we did something crazy and got my own Switch to get my own Pokemon. Yeah. Pokemon Let's Go EEVEE.
Yeah.
I was like, this is dumb. I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just standing and running around behind me. I was very engaged in what you were doing, but for me to be the second player component was very tame. There was nothing to
No, there's not. It's cosmetic. That's what I'm saying. It's a cosmetic thing.
I didn't understand what you were saying by the co-op, but now I get it. So
But everything else about this game, from the catching the Pokemon, the trainer battles,
You have a good point. You have a very good point.
Would you redact your score and rescore it based on my argument?
But when you weren't around being the second person, I had a lot of fun. When I was the first person,
but
I didn't want to play the second person.
But we are talking about a game. It's a feature. It's in the game.
But we got my own. All right. I'm going to do... halfway there. 9.5.
9.5 out of 10. Okay, I can live with that.
It'd be interesting. You can live with that. I'm sorry.
We can see if how much your score changes by the end. Maybe mine will change. Who knows? But anyways,
maybe yours will change. But I think you could boost it up to a half point because we barely played that because it was so bad. Okay, I get it. All right, next.
What the other factor about what's fun about this game? This game does something different that it's completely new to this one. They implemented Pokemon Go mechanics into the Pokemon mainline series. I actually, this might be controversial with Pokemon fans, I preferred the Catchy Mechanic in this game compared to the battling mechanics in the other game to catch wild Pokemon.
I feel like I can't say much to that because this is the only Pokemon game I've played.
Since this is the only one, does this leave you wanting to experience the other games?
I was very surprised on how much I liked this game. I was never a Pokemon fan, and then now all of a sudden I'm asking you tons and tons of questions about which ones to switch and which battle to train my Pokemon with. So I think that in that area, I'm pleasantly excited to see what comes forward with the Pokemon.
One of the things that I do really like about the Catchy Mechanic is that when you catch a Pokemon, all your Pokemon in your party get experience points. So you don't have to waste time cycling in certain Pokemon to level them up. Especially, it's nice that you don't have to do that. And this is a feature
is that not something? Is that a new feature?
Yeah.
You were
with newer
just
games.
gonna.
It took a long time. In the originals, without the experience share, you would have to Pokemon that you want to level up. You would need to put them at the head of your party. When the battle started, you need to take him out, put one of your stronger ones in, and then finish the fight. Then that Pokemon you took out would get experience. That's how you did it in the old games.
Wow.
In this one, it's just
That seems like a lot.
It is a lot. And in this one, it's just all of them get it. So if there's just one particular Pokemon and you just want to fill up your Pokedex, like for example, I wanted to level up Mankey so I can get Primate, I just put Mankey in my party, and after, I want to say 30 minutes of catching Pokemon, I had a Primate, and I just put him back in the box. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's quality of life changes in Pokemon that I appreciate, and I like that aspect. The other thing that's fun about Pokemon, and it's always been fun, is you alluded to it, but the chess match-like nature of Pokemon battles.
Okay, so that was actually the one thing I thought I wasn't going to like that I ended up liking way more than I thought I was going to. I really liked how you had to be strategic about what you were doing, and I had to ask you, well, what's going to be able to fight a magnetic Pokemon? What's going to be able to fight an ice Pokemon? And you were able to, when you told me, through the hours and hours I was playing through this, was able to develop that thought process of what to do when I was fighting a Pokemon that was a grass. And I had to figure out what Pokemons were grass and this world of how they differentiated in Pokemon, in the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
So like there was grass, there was fire, there was ice. That to me was captivating.
Yeah, and it
was
is.
interesting.
That's one of the things about Pokemon that makes it super interesting is that
And
there's a strategy to it. Now, when we got you the EEVEE game, we got you the one with the Pokeball.
Pokeball!
So we both played with it. The Pokeball comes with the Pokemon Mew. So when you get the Pokeball, you go into your menus. There's a gift setting you can go into. It reads that you have the Pokeball, and then it takes Mew out of the Pokeball, puts it into your party.
Okay, well, the thing with this, to implement this, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I did have a lot of fun with it. My issue with it is that when you throw it, even if you threw it straight, you had to use a lot of force. And even if you threw it straight, it kind of just went where it wanted to go. It was kind of difficult to catch Pokemon, especially when you were trying to get one that was rare. You were getting so upset because it wasn't hitting him. Even if you were like, you really had to throw it.
Yeah.
So I gave it an 8 out of 10 because as much fun as I had playing on this when it was on the TV, I actually played with it while I was on my Switch for a little bit because I accidentally connected it without meaning to. So I was playing with it for a while and I played it on my Switch. It was actually easier to catch them while they were on my Switch.
Really?
It was.
That's interesting.
It was interesting. But it wasn't...
That's the other aspect of this, because it's not just that, it's the Joy-Con as well, when the throwing mechanic with the Joy-Con, when it's on the TV.
It was the same, yeah, it was the same thing.
The Pokeball will go sometimes completely random. I feel like the calibration and the motion controls in the Joy-Con is completely random. Sometimes the Pokeball is going, and like the Pokemon would be dead center, and all of a sudden the Pokeball is going off to the side. You're like, what are you doing?
There was a point where it was either you on the TV or me on the TV and we were playing, and I actually preferred playing it on my Switch. And yes, like you had to lift it up and move the Switch around. It's engaging, which we'll get to later. But having a Switch, I'm actually upset that this is the first time I got a Switch after it being out for so long.
Yeah, the Pokeball, the other thing is that it only has 2 buttons in it, so the moving around factor, the actual using it as a joystick.
That actually didn't bother me. To be honest,
it's a little small, especially for like people with bigger hands like me. I played with it for a little while and I actually got like a hand cramp after an hour or so.
It was comfortable for me, but there were times I had to put it down because it was a little small. But again, isn't it for children?
The other interesting thing about
Which one's in there? What did I put in there? Bulbasaur?
The other interesting thing about the Pokeball is that you can put Pokemon into it from the game, take them for a stroll, and then when you bring them back and put them back into the game, they'll get experience points. So
yeah, you took it to work.
Yeah, as an experiment one day, I rode my bike to work. I put a Nidorino in here, rode it to work, rode it home. At the end of the day, I had 2,500 experience points when I brought it back, which got me like 2 or 3 levels out of it. So that's another neat aspect about it.
So if you want to feel really cool at work, bring one of these to work.
I just kept it in my backpack. The other thing that I wish I'd like to see implemented is that you can only use a Joy-Con, the Pokeball, or the Switch handheld. There is no Pro controller or dual Joy-Con setting. So
that never bothered me.
it bothers me a little bit because I would like to use my Pro controller because I have one. And I would like to use the left joystick to move, my right thumb to press the buttons. In this one, it's one hand is doing everything. And it feels a little awkward. So the next phase is level design. If you played any of the other 3 versions of this game, Pokemon Red, Pikachu, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Blue.
Yeah.
It is the same exact world, just in a 3D environment. So for me, the level design is a 8 out of 10.
So this is exactly the same?
Yep.
Exactly.
What?
It's like a remaster game, like Spyro.
It is, yeah, no, it's a remaster. That's what it is. It's a remake. It's not a remaster, it's a remake.
So are there new components from the last game?
It's exactly the same, except it has, like, the Pokemon Go mechanic. It's essentially Pokemon Fire Red in a 3D world with Pokemon Go mechanics.
Interesting. I gave it, for the level design, a 9 out of 10.
So I think this is, like, the difference, because this is the 4th game I've played with the same world and same levels, that outside of this being
This
a
is
3D...
the 4th one?
Yeah, outside of this being a 3D rendition of this, there is this game plays on nostalgia hardcore, which if you played any of the other ones, it's the same exact thing. It's the same trainers, same gyms. The only thing that's a little different is that, now I shouldn't say this is the 4th one. This is essentially a remake of Pokemon Yellow, which in Pokemon Yellow was a sort of a remake of Pokemon Red and Blue.
Right.
Which in Pokemon Yellow incorporated Team Rocket, Jesse and James specifically. Pikachu followed behind you in the game. And this is what essentially this is. And for me, because of the massive amount of deja vu that I had with it, which the nostalgia trip is great. I absolutely love the nostalgia trip. The original games have a basic loop to them, and it's town, gym, route, dungeon, and then you're at the next town. And then you do the gym. Then it's route, dungeon, you reach the next town. Gym, route, dungeon, and that's essentially that loop for the majority of the game.
I guess you would say I got lost a couple times. I was trying to find a place. Once we got the time travel. Once we got the travel mechanics to it, it was a lot easier.
Yeah, the fast
and
travel.
It was nice. The fast travel. It was nice to have that.
Yeah, and that's always been
balloons.
That's always been a mechanic of the Pokemon games. At some point, you'll get to fly, and you can fly anywhere in the map that you've been to already.
I was so excited when that came up. I was like, "It's balloon. It's like up."
It's exactly what it is. So I can understand why for you the level design is a 9 out of 10 because this is the first time that you're experiencing this particular region. Also, this region was in Pokemon Silver and Gold as a bonus region. So the sequels to Red.
Is this a sequel?
No. To Fire and Red had sequels called Pokemon, which there's generations. So Generation 2 was Pokemon Silver and Gold. Pokemon Silver and Gold, after you beat that map, you then got to go back to the Kanto region, which is the one from Red and Blue, and do all those and do that all over again with the Pokemon you got from Pokemon Silver and Gold.
So much.
So, understandably, why you would rate the level design higher than me. So it's definitely more fresh for you than it is for me. All right, so how engaging the game is. Can you play this game for 2 to 3 hours and not realize that you just played it for 2 to 3 hours?
Totally.
For me, it is a 10 out of 10.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10.
The first night that we had this, you were playing yours, I was playing mine. I think we started playing at 6 or 7, and then you're like, oh, what time is it? It was 10:30. Like, holy crap. Have we really been playing for 4 hours?
It was a lot. But remember, I started playing it on your console.
Yeah.
And we played it for almost 4 hours before we made the decision to go get my own. So for that day, we probably spent almost 8 hours on it. And I was like, wow, this game goes quick.
And that's part of the magic of the Pokemon games, or at least for some of them. I'm playing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon right now, or at least Ultra Sun.
You can play it on your phone?
No, I have the Nintendo DS. I have a 3DS.
Oh, that's right.
And so that one is more monotonous than this one. That it's more sluggish. It takes longer to get through it. Whereas with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, you're essentially dropped in the world. As soon as you get Pikachu, like you're on the ground running. That's one of the things that I really liked about, or what I like about the Pokemon games, is that they don't waste time getting you to the stuff that you really want to do, which is catching Pokemon and doing trainer battles.
Yeah.
No time lost with this, and as soon as you're into it, all you want to do is build your team, get as many Pokemon as you can, and become a badass trainer.
Yeah.
And if you know what you're doing, you can do it pretty quick. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to take you a little longer. That's why
it took a while, but I think I was behind you for a while. And then it took me a while to kind of navigate through things and ask everybody questions. It took me a while to accept the fact that you need to ask every single person something, because you might get a Pokemon, or you might get a strategy.
You were just playing earlier, and you were like, hey, I talked to this guy, and you got a Porygon.
Yeah, I was excited.
And I'm ahead of you, but I didn't get the Porygon, so now I need to go back to Saffron City and get that Porygon.
Yeah, you will. You're going to come back and get it.
Now, this is the one where my game takes a hit. So the presentation for me is a 7.5 out of 10.
Who are you? My presentation was a 9 out of 10.
So I think
Weirdo.
this is, again, I think going to be a difference of opinion because of someone that's played every version of the Pokemon Red.
That's fair.
Kanto. The thing that bothers me about this game is that, one, the kid-friendly aesthetic, like, it's okay, it's cool. I like the 3D world, but I feel like they sort of half-baked the presentation with this one, with wanting to make it an introductory game for younger fans to get into.
Don't hate on children.
So I'm not hating on children. I'm just saying, as a long-time Pokemon, I would say a veteran of the series, that...
You're aging yourself so much.
Well, I played the first one in 96. I mean, I've been playing the series for, 22 years now?
Yes, I know.
So, the kid-friendly aesthetic, it's cool. It's just disappointing to me when I'm playing Pokemon Ultra Sun, and the presentation, character models, and everything in that game the resolution is nowhere near as sharp, but the character models and stuff in that game look almost more detailed and aesthetically pleasing than what we're getting in a game that's 2 years post Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. The other thing that bothers me before you go is that the menus are made up of all these sprites, which sprites are the little icons, the character icons. They're made up of the Game Boy sprites. I feel like they did it for nostalgia purpose, but it looks ugly and unappealing in a 1080p environment. So like the Pokemon, they look super pixelated. It's pixel art essentially, but it looks like they ripped it straight from the Game Boy Color games and just slapped them into this. And I felt like you probably could have taken a team to redo all the animation, all the menu sprites and icons, and spruce it up. Because when you blow them up, it just looks ugly and unappealing, and it literally just came off as lazy. And that's part of what presentation is. Is there any aspect of this game that feels lazy?
No.
Having played the series for so long, that aspect of it comes off as...
Because I think what you're talking about, when you go into the Pokédex, I actually thought it was kind of cool. Because I knew that they were taking it from an older game design.
Yeah.
But for me, not ever really experiencing Pokemon in any way, it was cool to see that because that's where they came from. Like, that's where they started to develop, which I thought was cool. And as far as presentation goes, I think that visually it looks great.
The other thing that feels sort of half-baked or sort of lazy in the presentation of the game is the two-player mechanic. Once again, it hinders the fun factor of the game.
That's where, that's kind of where I put it 9 out of 10. Which... 9 out of 10. I did put 9 out of 10 because I felt like it could have used a little bit extra. Like it wasn't over the top extra. It doesn't visually look over the top extra. And remembering about the co-op, that would be where I would even dock it a little bit more because I wasn't thinking about that when I did the rating. But I think I'm happy with the 9 out of 10 for being my first go around. It was pretty different for me.
I will say, there is a Pokemon riding mechanic to it.
That was fun.
And every Pokemon you can take out, you can ride, actually has a sort of like a different animation to it. Even like the way the character rides it, to the way the Pokemon move, they all don't move the same.
And you go faster. I think that's my biggest thing in games is that I just want to play the game and get through it.
Okay, I'm gonna. Maybe I'm being a little hard on the presentation. I'm gonna up my score. I'm gonna up my score a little bit. I'm gonna up my score.
Look at me convincing you. This is exciting.
I'll go to 8 out of 10 for the presentation.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so not talking about the presentation of the Pokemon riding, all that stuff. It's the reused assets from the previous games plus the childlike friendly aesthetic to it, and I
feel like I have to keep reminding you it's for children.
And the and the co-op is what the presentation takes a hit for me. So moving on to our fifth phase, bugs and glitches. Bugs and glitches are how I rate bugs and glitches are. Is there anything that we encountered that broke a mission that we were doing, or we had to restart the game and we lost progress because of this glitch? Is anything game breaking?
No.
And for me, it's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Nothing went wrong.
Also, on the other thing that I haven't used it too much because I wanted to play. So the other thing is that this game does interface with Pokemon Go, and it interfaces with Pokemon Go because the Pokemon that you transfer, that you catch in your Pokemon Go cell phone game, those become the Safari Pokemon. So in the original games,
the Safari Pokemon.
The Safari Zone was a zone you would go to where you would catch Pokemon without battling them. So you weren't allowed to bring your Pokemon into the Safari Zone to fight other Pokemon.
Is that in this one?
No, they took the Safari Zone is in there, but you go hunting in the Safari Zone because you take the Pokemon from your Pokemon Go game on your cell phone and you import them to your console. And when you import them to your console, they go to the Safari Zone and then you catch them there.
Oh.
So that's how you get the Pokemon from your Pokemon Go account to your Pokemon Go Let's Go game. I wouldn't mind if this was a feature that they continue on with future Pokemon games.
It's always connected to some kind of app.
Yeah, I'd be totally cool with that.
So what was your overall score then after all of that?
Well, not time to redo my score because I did change one of mine. I might have moved it up to a 9 now. Sam actually convinced me to change one of my scores, she actually changed one of hers, so now we have a new final score. So a new final score for me came out to a 9 out of 10. My
new final score is 9.5 out of 10, which I still think is a little high for you, but it was good for me.
It's super high. Even 9 out of 10 feels high, but that's how these work. 5 phases, average it out.
Call it a day.
Yep. All right, that's it for us. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked this video. Thank you for watching and listening to this 5-phase review. We have more coming, so keep a lookout. I think the next one that we're doing is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. We have a couple of other games we've been playing. Might review those as well. So keep an eye out. And as always, we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.